He gave up a successful career to pursue a dream, but watched everything crumble before his eyes. When he was about to give up, an unlikely young man appeared with a bold idea. Now, together, they'll have to face challenges that go far beyond business. Kevin Thompson watched the fine rain falling on the cobblestone streets of Paraty, intensifying the shine of the historic stones and further driving away the few tourists still visiting the town. Sitting by the window of his nearly empty cafe, he flipped through the financial report with trembling hands. Each page confirmed what he already knew. The Anchor Cafe was sinking fast. "One more month like this, and we'll have to close our doors," he murmured to himself, running a hand through his prematurely graying hair at 42. Kevin had fallen in love with Paraty during a trip to Brazil 5 years ago. The charm of the historic center, the meeting of the sea and the mountains of the Bocaina Range, and the vibrant culture had won him over. He decided to leave his life as an executive in Chicago to fulfill his dream of opening a cafe in the heart of the colonial town. At first, the Anchor Cafe was a success, attracting tourists and locals alike with its menu that blended elements of Brazilian and American cuisine. But in recent months, everything had begun to crumble. Competition had increased drastically with the opening of chain cafes, costs had skyrocketed, and even the renovations he had made to the space and the changes to the menu had not made a difference. The employees, sensing the situation, had started looking for other jobs. Jennifer, his manager and longtime friend who had accompanied him from Chicago, had just resigned that morning. "You need to accept it, Kevin. This offer from Café Brazil is the only way out. They're offering a fair price for the location," Jennifer had said before leaving. Distracted by his worries, Kevin barely noticed when the glass door opened, letting in a skinny boy no more than 15 years old. The boy wore a faded Chicago Bulls t-shirt, worn-out jeans, and carried a battered school notebook under his arm. His eyes, however, shone with an intensity that contrasted with his simple appearance. "Excuse me, sir. Can I speak to the owner?" the boy asked in clear Portuguese with a slight regional accent. Kevin looked up, slightly annoyed by the interruption. "That's me. If it's about a job, we're not hiring. In fact, we're almost closing down." "I'm not here for a job. Sir, I'm here because I know how to save your cafe." The audacity of the statement made Kevin laugh humorlessly. "You? And how would a kid your age understand business?" "My name is Tyler Santos. My dad was American, my mom Brazilian. I can prove I know what I'm talking about. Just give me 5 minutes." There was something in the boy's conviction that piqued Kevin's curiosity. With nothing to lose, he pointed to the chair across from him. 5 minutes. Tyler opened the battered notebook, revealing pages filled with notes, charts, and drawings. With surprising eloquence, he began pointing out obvious flaws in the cafe's business model. The overly sophisticated atmosphere for the local crowd, the high prices without clear value justification, the lack of connection with the community. "You're trying to recreate Chicago in Paraty, but you forgot to adapt to the soul of this place," Tyler explained, pointing to the impersonal decor and the menu that completely ignored local ingredients. "Tourists come here to experience Brazil, not to find what they already have at home. And the locals don't feel welcome here." Kevin listened, increasingly impressed, as Tyler detailed observations about foot traffic at different times of the day, tourists' spending patterns, and how other cafes were capturing their clientele. "How do you know all this?" "I've lived on the streets for 2 years, ever since my mom got sick and couldn't work anymore. I spend all day observing. I know every merchant, every frequent tourist, every local. I know what works and what doesn't in this town." The boy's story touched Kevin deeply, but he was still skeptical. "And why would you care to help me?" Tyler hesitated for a moment, his eyes lowering to the notebook. "Because I saw something different in you. Most business owners who come from outside just want to exploit the town. You truly love Paraty, I can tell, and—" He paused. "I need a place to stay. I'm not asking for charity. I'm offering an exchange." Kevin looked out the window, watching the rain now falling harder. Then he turned his gaze back to the boy, to the disastrous financial report on the table, and finally to the purchase offer from Café Brazil. An idea began to form in his mind. 1 week, Kevin finally said. I'll give you 1 week to prove your ideas work. If they don't, I'll sign the contract with Café Brazil. In the following days, the Anchor Café began to transform. Tyler wasted no time. With Kevin's permission, he removed the generic American landscape paintings and replaced them with works by local artists. The cold metal tables were covered with colorful tablecloths made by Parity artisans. The menu was completely revamped, keeping the quality coffees but adding options with acai, tapioca, and homemade cheese bread at more affordable prices. People want to feel like they're part of this place, Tyler explained, as he rearranged the furniture to create cozier spaces. And we need to show that the Anchor Café is also part of Parity. The small outdoor area, previously underutilized, was transformed into a cultural space with an improvised stage. Tyler convinced local musicians to perform in exchange for drinks and artisans to display their pieces on strategic shelves. This brings movement even on rainy days, he argued, seeing Kevin's skeptical expression. The biggest resistance came when Tyler suggested hiring Mrs. Lords, a 70-year-old woman known for making the best cakes in the region. We can't increase costs right now, Kevin protested. We're not increasing costs, we're investing in authenticity, Tyler countered. Besides, she already has a loyal clientele that will start coming to the cafe. Reluctantly, Kevin agreed, and to his surprise, Mrs. Lords's cakes quickly became a special attraction. Tourists and locals began showing up specifically to try them. One afternoon, as Kevin watched the growing activity in the cafe, a man in a suit entered, causing immediate discomfort in Tyler. Mr. Thompson? I'm William Parker, Expansion Director for Café Brazil. He extended his hand, which Kevin shook hesitantly. I came personally to see if you've reconsidered our offer. Actually, Mr. Parker, we've decided to go in a different direction, Kevin replied, surprising himself with his own firmness. The executive looked around, noticing the changes and the diverse crowd now occupying the tables. Interesting. It seems you've made some alterations, he commented with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I must say I'm impressed. Perhaps we should discuss a partnership instead of an acquisition. Something in Parker's tone made Kevin suspicious. He noticed Tyler approaching, clutching his notebook to his chest. I appreciate the interest, but we're fine going independent. Parker's smile faded. I see. Well, if you change your mind, you know where to find me. Before leaving, he shot a hard look at Tyler, who held his gaze without flinching. I don't trust him, Tyler said as soon as Parker left. Café Brazil has a reputation for suffocating smaller establishments until they're forced to sell. How do you know that? Tyler hesitated as if deciding how much to reveal. My dad, he had a cafe in Sao Paulo before meeting my mom and moving to Parity. He lost everything to a big chain. It's what destroyed him. Kevin stared at the boy, realizing there was much more to his story than he had imagined. Before he could ask more questions, the cafe door opened again and a group of tourists entered, drawn by the music starting to play in the outdoor area. We have customers, Tyler said, quickly moving away to attend to them. In the following weeks, the Anchor Café flourished like never before. Tyler's strategy of turning the place into a community hub worked beyond expectations. The cafe began hosting storytelling nights about Parity's history, book exchange events, and small theater performances. Social media started buzzing about the space, attracting tourists seeking an authentic experience. Kevin watched in awe as Tyler seemed to predict trends and needs before they even emerged. The boy had a natural talent for business, combined with a deep understanding of people. One night after closing, Kevin found Tyler alone in the kitchen, sitting on a stool, writing in his notebook under the dim light. He approached quietly and saw that the boy was drawing detailed plans for expanding the cafe. You really believe in the future of this place, don't you? Kevin asked. Tyler quickly closed the notebook as if caught doing something wrong, just thinking about possibilities. Kevin sat beside him. Tyler, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done. You don't need to thank me. We have a deal, remember? Yes, but I want to formalize it better. I've been thinking you have potential for much more than just being an informal consultant. How about going back to school? I could help. Tyler's eyes shone for a moment, but the light quickly faded. I can't. I need to take care of my mom. She's been in the municipal hospital for months. It was like a lightning bolt struck Kevin. The boy's dedication, his determination to make the cafe work, it all made sense now. It wasn't just about having a place to stay or love for the town, it was about his mom. Why didn't you tell me before? Kevin asked, feeling a mix of compassion and surprise. I didn't want your pity, Tyler replied, avoiding his gaze. I wanted to prove my worth first. The next day, Kevin insisted on visiting Tyler's mom at the hospital. Melissa Santos was hospitalized with a rare autoimmune disease that had left her extremely weak. Still, her eyes lit up when she saw her son. Tyler told me about your cafe, she said in a weak voice. He's always had a special eye for business, just like his dad. You should see him in action, Kevin replied, genuinely impressed. He saved my business. After the visit, Kevin made a decision. He offered Tyler a formal contract as a junior consultant for the cafe, with a salary that would allow him to rent a small apartment near the hospital and resume his studies. He also committed to helping with Melissa's treatments. Why? Tyler asked, suspicious of so much generosity. Because I believe in paying forward the good we receive, Kevin replied simply. You gave me a second chance, now I'm giving you one. Life seemed to finally be falling into place, until one morning Tyler arrived at the cafe with an alarmed expression. We have a problem, he announced, showing his phone with news about the Anchor Cafe on social media. Anonymous posts claimed the establishment used low-quality products and had hygiene issues. The online reviews, once excellent, began receiving mass negative comments. It's Café Brazil, Tyler stated with certainty. They always start like this. Kevin wanted to believe it was just an unfortunate coincidence, but the surprise visit from the health inspection the next day confirmed Tyler's suspicions. The inspectors seemed determined to find irregularities. Fortunately, we've kept everything impeccable, Kevin commented after the inspection, which found no issues. This is just the beginning, Tyler warned. They won't give up easily. As predicted, the attacks continued. Suppliers began delaying deliveries without explanation. A mysterious leak flooded the cafe overnight, and customers reported receiving calls discouraging them from visiting. The final straw came when Tyler discovered that Café Brazil had submitted a proposal for the historic building next door, with plans to open a mega cafe that would surely crush the small Anchor Cafe. We need to fight, Tyler declared during an emergency meeting with Kevin and the staff, and I know exactly how. Tyler's plan was bold: turn the threat into an opportunity. Instead of trying to fight the corporate giant directly, he proposed creating an alliance with other small cafes and restaurants in parity, equally threatened by the predatory expansion. Alone we're weak. Together we can create a movement, he explained, outlining his vision for an association of independent establishments that would share resources, knowledge, and clientele. Kevin, initially hesitant, eventually embraced the idea upon realizing its potential. Within days, Authentic Parity was born as a cooperative network of local small businesses. The association's first event was held at the Anchor Cafe, a tasting festival where each establishment presented its specialties. Local media coverage was instant, and soon tourists from all over Brazil began seeking out the associated establishments, drawn by the promise of a genuine experience. William Parker from Café Brazil was not pleased with the turnaround. On a rainy afternoon, he showed up at the cafe accompanied by two men in suits. Mr. Thompson, can we speak in private? He asked with false cordiality. Any matter can be discussed in the presence of my partner, Kevin replied, indicating Tyler, who stood by his side. Parker laughed disdainfully. Partner? This street kid? Be reasonable, Thompson. This street kid has more integrity and business vision than your entire company, Kevin shot back. What do you want? I came to make one final offer before things get complicated for you. Tyler stepped forward, like they did for my father, Nicholas Santos. The name seemed to hit Parker like a physical blow. He stared at Tyler with new attention. Nicholas Santos, the American from Sao Paulo? His eyes narrowed. So you're his son. You ruined my father, Tyler continued, his voice surprisingly steady. He built the best cafe in Pinheiros, and your company systematically destroyed it until he sold for a fraction of its value. It consumed him until... Business is business, kid, Parker cut in coldly. Your father was weak. No, Kevin intervened, placing a hand on Tyler's shoulder. His father was a victim of predatory and unethical practices, and we won't be. Kevin pulled a flash drive from his pocket and placed it on the table. Here's a full investigation into Café Brazil's tactics over the past 5 years, including evidence of bribery, competitor sabotage, and tax evasion. Copies have already been sent to investigative journalists and the public. Prosecutor's office. It was a bluff, but Kevin delivered it with such conviction that Parker visibly paled. You don't know who you're messing with, he threatened, though his tone no longer carried the same confidence. On the contrary, Tyler replied, we know exactly who you are. The question is Café Brazil ready for the public scrutiny that will come if you keep attacking us? Parker stood abruptly, signaling for his companions to follow. At the door, he turned one last time. This isn't over. But it was. In the following weeks, Café Brazil quietly withdrew its expansion plans in Paraty. The authentic Paraty movement continued to grow, becoming a model for other historic towns concerned with preserving their traditional businesses. A year later, the Anchor Cafe had become one of Paraty's must-visit tourist spots. The small cafe now also occupied the building next door, transformed into a cultural space where local artists could exhibit their work and musicians performed every night. The third floor housed a business school for young entrepreneurs, an idea of Tyler's that Kevin enthusiastically supported. Melissa Santos, after months of proper treatment, was finally discharged and now assisted in managing the cafe, bringing her experience as a former economics teacher. The apartment Kevin had helped rent for Tyler and his mum had been replaced by a small, colorful house near the central square, where flowers of all colors adorned the garden carefully maintained by Melissa during her recovery. On a sunny afternoon, Kevin and Tyler sat on the cafe's porch, watching the mix of tourists and locals harmoniously filling the space. We did it, Kevin said, sipping a new coffee blend they were testing. Tyler smiled, but there was a shadow of concern in his eyes. What's wrong? Kevin asked, having learned to read the young man's expressions. I got an offer from a university in Sao Paulo, full scholarship to study business administration. Kevin felt a mix of pride and apprehension. At 16, Tyler had already completed high school through an accelerated program Kevin had encouraged him to pursue. That's an incredible opportunity, Kevin commented, trying to hide the sadness of possibly losing his young partner. Yes, but Tyler hesitated, playing with the sugar spoon. It would mean leaving the cafe, you, my mom. Tyler, Kevin placed a hand on his shoulder. When you showed up at that door a year ago, you gave me a second chance at life. Now it's my turn to make sure you have every opportunity you deserve. The young man lowered his eyes, emotional. We built something special here, and it will stay special. Your mom is practically managing the place already, and you can come back on weekends and holidays, Kevin smiled. Besides, who knows? Maybe in the future we'll open a branch in Sao Paulo. A triumphant return to the city where it all started for your dad. Tyler's eyes shone with the possibility. At that moment, a young reporter from the local newspaper approached, notebook in hand. Mr. Thompson? Tyler, could I ask a few questions? For our feature on the success of the authentic Paraty movement. Kevin nodded, and the reporter began. How do you explain the transformation of a cafe on the brink of bankruptcy into the epicenter of a movement that changed the commercial dynamics of the entire town? Tyler and Kevin exchanged knowing glances before Tyler answered. It all started when I realized that the true value of a business isn't just in the numbers, but in the genuine connection with the people and the place where it exists. Kevin had the wisdom to listen to ideas from an unlikely source, and together we discovered that sometimes the most powerful solutions come from where you least expect them. "And what's the secret to maintaining this success?" the reporter pressed, and Kevin took over. "Constant adaptation without losing the essence. We can change the menu, expand the space, diversify the activities, but the heart of the Anchor Cafe remains the same, to be a meeting point that celebrates the best of Parity and creates memories for everyone who passes through." After the interview, as they watched the sunset turn the historic stones of the town golden, Tyler shared his decision. "I'm going to accept the scholarship in Sao Paulo, but on one condition. You have to promise that the Anchor Cafe will be waiting for me when I come back." Kevin smiled, extending his hand for a formal handshake. "That's a partner's promise. This place wouldn't be the same without you." As they sealed the agreement, Melissa approached with a tray holding 3 bowls of a new dessert they were developing, acai with local fruits and homemade granola. "To celebrate the future," she said, distributing the bowls. The 3 raised their spoons in a silent toast, united by an unlikely story of redemption, opportunity, and renewal. What had begun as a chance encounter between a desperate businessman and a street kid with a battered notebook had transformed into a partnership that transcended business and created a new story of hope for everyone involved. On the horizon, the lights of Parati began to flicker on, promising new stories to be discovered and shared in the welcoming space of the Anchor Cafe, where every day someone entered as a customer and left as part of a family built by the most improbable of encounters. Dear listeners, we hope the story of Kevin and Tyler has touched your hearts. To continue this emotional journey, we've prepared a special playlist with equally captivating stories. Find it by clicking to your left. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. Every day we bring you unique stories that explore the complexities of life. Don't miss our upcoming content. We're waiting for you in the comments. Kevin leaned back in his chair, savoring the moment. The cafe buzzed with life, a testament to the hard work and vision they had poured into it. Tyler's eyes lingered on the bustling room, a mix of pride and nostalgia in his gaze. "You know," Tyler said, breaking the comfortable silence, "this place feels like home now, more than anywhere else ever has." Kevin nodded, understanding the weight of those words. "It's home for a lot of people. You've built something incredible here, Tyler, something that's bigger than just a cafe." Tyler smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in it. "I just wish my dad could see it. He would have loved this." Kevin placed a hand on Tyler's shoulder. "He'd be proud of you, I know I am." The two sat in silence for a while, watching as the cafe's patrons laughed, chatted, and enjoyed the warm atmosphere. It was a far cry from the nearly empty space Kevin had once feared would close its doors forever. As the evening wore on, the cafe's staff began closing up for the night. Tyler stood, stretching his arms. "I should get going. Early morning tomorrow," he said, referring to his upcoming move to Sao Paulo. Kevin stood as well, pulling Tyler into a firm hug. "Take care of yourself, kid, and don't forget this place will always be here for you." Tyler nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "Thanks, Kevin, for everything." As Tyler walked out into the night, Kevin watched him go, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. The boy who had once walked into his cafe with nothing but a notebook and a dream had grown into a young man with a bright future ahead of him. The Anchor Cafe had been saved, but more importantly, it had become a beacon of hope and community in Parity. And as Kevin locked up for the night, he knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, just as they always had. The next morning, the cafe was abuzz with activity as usual. Melissa greeted customers with her warm smile, while the staff worked seamlessly to keep up with the demand. Kevin stood behind the counter, pouring a cup of coffee for a regular customer. "Morning, Mr. Thompson," the customer said, taking the cup with a grateful nod. "Morning, Carlos. How's the family?" Kevin asked, making small talk as he always did. "Doing well, thanks. The kids are excited about the new school year," Carlos replied before heading to his usual table. Kevin glanced around the cafe, taking in the familiar sights and sounds. It was a place where everyone knew each other, where stories were shared, and where memories were made. As the morning rush began to slow, Kevin noticed a young couple entering the cafe, looking around with wide eyes. "First time here?" Kevin asked, approaching them with a friendly smile. "Yes," the woman replied. "We heard about this place from a friend. Said it was a must-visit in Paraty." "Well, you're in for a treat," Kevin said, handing them a menu. "Welcome to the Anchor Cafe." As the couple settled in, Kevin returned to the counter, feeling a sense of fulfillment. The cafe had come a long way, and he knew it was just the beginning. Later that afternoon, Kevin received a text from Tyler. "Made it to São Paulo, first class tomorrow, wish me luck." Kevin smiled, typing out a quick reply. "Good luck, partner. Make us proud." As he put his phone away, Kevin felt a sense of peace. The Anchor Cafe was more than just a business. It was a legacy. And with Tyler's help, it would continue to thrive for years to come.